Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Manoj Singh Rana, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lead Indian delegation at 21st SCO Council of Heads of State meet on Thursday. Prime Minister to participate first in-person Quad Leaders Summit in Washington on 24th of this month. New Delhi monitoring situation over the missing Indian national in Afghanistan, says External Affairs Ministry. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson reshuffles his cabinet. SpaceX launches 4 civilians into orbit on its Inspiration 4 flight. And in cricket, Virat Kohli announces to step down as captain of T20 team after the World Cup. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is underway, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on face and hand hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now, the news in detail. The 21st meeting of SCO Council of Heads of State will be held tomorrow in Dushanbe, Tajikistan in a hybrid format. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lead the Indian delegation and address the plenary session of the summit through video link. At Dushanbe, India will be represented by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. In a statement, External Affairs Ministry said this is the first SCO summit being held in a hybrid format and the 4th summit that India will participate as a full-fledged member of SCO. This summit assumes significance as the organization is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. At the summit, the leaders are expected to review the organization's activities over the past 2 decades and discuss the state and prospects of future cooperation. Topical issues of regional and international importance are also expected to be discussed. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is in Dushanbe for SCO Summit, called on Tajikistan President Emomali Rahmon on Thursday. During the interaction, Dr. Jaishankar conveyed greetings of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Mr. Rahmon. They exchanged views on recent developments in Afghanistan and their impact on regional security. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar said, India and Tajikistan are strong partners in fighting terrorism, fundamentalism, and radicalism. The External Affairs Minister also had good discussion with Tajik Foreign Minister Sirojiddin Muhriddin. Dr. Jaishankar said he is looking forward to continue it tomorrow. He also met Kyrgyz Foreign Minister Ruslan Kazakabayev. Both ministers noted the growing development partnership. They agreed to strengthen the national cooperation on regional and multilateral issues.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on the significance of the SCO Summit 2021. In conversation are Veena Sikri, former diplomat, and Simran Sodhi, the journalist.
Today we are discussing the Shanghai Cooperation meeting, which is going to be held tomorrow. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lead India and he will be doing this virtually, while Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar would be in the Tajikistan capital representing India and holding summit meetings there. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization is expected to focus primarily on the Afghanistan situation and other issues. Ambassador Sikri, when we look at the SCO meet, which is going to take place tomorrow in the backdrop of what is happening in Afghanistan, how significant do you think this meet will be?
This is indeed a very important meeting. It is also marking the 20 years of the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And this organization has come of age, as it were. India is attending the summit for the 4th time. And I think, as it happens for this particular year, 2021, Tajikistan is the chairperson of the SCO, which, as you know, is done by rotation. And at this very time, when the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit is being held, we have seen the tumultuous, the cataclysmic events in Afghanistan. And certainly Tajikistan, as a neighboring country of Afghanistan with perhaps the longest land border, it has a land border of, I think, 1,300 kilometers or something with Afghanistan, is deeply concerned by the events of Afghanistan for 2 or 3 very important reasons. For one thing, Tajikistan is deeply concerned that the Taliban, having taken over in the manner they did, by complete brute force, they have not kept to their word, their promises in the Doha deal. They have not formed an inclusive government, and they have totally ignored all the minorities, the Tajiks, the Uzbeks, the Hazaras, and other minorities, who form a significant percentage of Afghanistan population. The Pashtun population of Afghanistan is only 42%, and the Tajiks are 27%. So obviously the government of Tajikistan is deeply concerned, because there's a lot of concern among the people of Tajikistan that their brethren across the border in Afghanistan have not been given their rights. And then after that, they were deeply concerned about the events in Panjshir Valley, where there was actually a conflict between Taliban and the National Resistance Group led by the former first Vice President of Afghanistan, Amrullah Saleh, and also by Ahmad Massoud, who is the son of the famous Ahmad Shah Massoud, who was a great Tajik leader who was assassinated. So I think that this events in Panjshir Valley, which in any case of violence was very distressing, because it led to strong loss of life. But more than that, the direct involvement of Pakistan in the Panjshir Valley, clashes. And, at night they brought in attack helicopters, they brought in gunships, all kinds of, aid to the Taliban was brought in by Pakistan, including some of their 2 battalions of their soldiers, officers leading the soldiers. So it was very, very disturbing to the people of Tajikistan, and they have spoken about it. They have spoken directly about the Prime Minister of Pakistan as well. So all this is going to create a great turmoil in the minds of the Tajik people. And I think gradually we are seeing another very important trend, that whereas earlier you saw Russia, China and Pakistan almost on the same wavelength, but after 15th August, as the events have unfolded and the Taliban section, the Haqqani network led by Pakistan, or really led by the ISI in Pakistan, they have taken the largest share of the seats in the interim government. The Russians are more and more disturbed, because they are very friendly with Tajikistan. They are together with Tajikistan even in the CSTO, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which again is meeting tomorrow and day after in Tajikistan, in Dushanbe. So this is a coming together of very important meetings. Now the CSTO is a very important body. India will also be participating in those meetings through our External Affairs Minister. The CSTO brings together Russia with the former Soviet Union countries, provinces, which are today independent republics in Central Asia. So this is a very, very important organization for Russia and for all the countries of that region, the Central Asian republics. And they are going to really raise in an important way their concerns about what is happening in Afghanistan. So certainly, as you rightly said, Afghanistan is going to be very important in the center of attention for everybody. There is another very important aspect that everybody is looking and watching out for, which is that Afghanistan is an observer in the SCO. And nobody yet knows who will be representing Afghanistan in the SCO. Will somebody be coming from Kabul? Will it be the ambassador of Afghanistan who is resident in Dushanbe? Nobody yet knows, and this is a matter of some interest. As you know, the Afghan ambassadors situated in different countries have collectively written a letter saying that they oppose the Taliban government in Afghanistan. This is not a legal government. It is, it has taken power by force. It is a terrorist organization and so on. And today another letter has been written by some Afghan diplomats, not the ambassador, but the other ranks. And they also have raised the same point. So there's a great deal of turmoil going on in and around Afghanistan. And certainly all these issues will come up for discussion in the SCO summit meeting beginning tomorrow. And I think all eyes are going to be on our Prime Minister's address, his virtual address to the summit. That is going to be very important. All the countries are going to be listening out for it. And that is going to be, a big focus of attention. What is happening in Afghanistan? How do we deal with it? How does the world deal with it?
Ambassador Sikri, we see that the SCO summit comprises 8 member states. That is Russia, China, India, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. We also see that the Chinese Foreign Minister, Wang Yi, and the Pakistani Foreign Minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, will also be present in Dushanbe, where External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar will be there. Even though there is no confirmation as of now whether the minister would be meeting his Chinese and Pakistani counterparts, how do you feel that this is one meeting or one summit which is bringing China, Pakistan and India together? And we've had tensions with both China and Pakistan, and as you explained, especially with Afghanistan in the focus today, those tensions are now much more sharper. So how does this help, or how does this take India's case forward that we have a summit where we have both China and Pakistan also present?
Yes, it is a very sensitive moment, and certainly India will be looking to broaden the consensus among the group of nations present for India's point of view. So India has already been in active consultations with many of the countries who are going to be there. India visited, our External Affairs Minister visited Iran last month. External Affairs Minister has visited Russia. The National Security Advisor of Russia, General Patrushev, was in India just about a week ago. So India has been having very, very high-level consultations on this subject. And not only the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, but they say that Prime Minister Imran Khan has perhaps already reached Dushanbe, and he is going to be participating in this meeting as well. So certainly they will try to put forward their view. But I do see that as the time has passed, that there is a gradual consolidation in towards India's point of view about having, that number one, that the territory of Afghanistan should not be used as for terrorist activities against any other country. Number two, that there must be an inclusive government in Afghanistan which takes account of all the ethnic minorities and women and ensures their rights and equal non-discriminatory representation, and that this must be a government that is formed by full consensus among the people of Afghanistan. So it must be a government formed after intra-Afghan consultation. There must be consultations and consensus created by discussion among all the groups in Afghanistan. So this is a point of view that we have seen more and more, that Iran is also taking this point of view. And I must tell you another very important aspect that is going to happen perhaps tomorrow, that Iran is going to become a full member of the SCO. This is also being discussed, but let us see if it will happen tomorrow. So that is another important development. Russia, who at one time, as I said, was not so clear about its point of view, but now, based on seeing what is happening in Afghanistan, how the matters are unfurling, how the Tajiks are being completely ignored, the Uzbeks and the Hazaras are being completely ignored, women are being left out of the government. So they too have said that they will not recognize the Taliban government. Tajikistan government has clearly said they will not recognize Taliban government. Iran has clearly said they will not recognize Taliban government. So, if all this has been said and India has been having consultations, let us see what actually happens in the summit. It does seem that there is a growing consensus about not recognizing the Taliban government until they live up to the promises that they have made. And we know that there is so much infighting and struggle going on within the Taliban government, different factions, and what is called the Doha faction and Mullah Brother is not to be seen. Some video has emerged, whether it is the correct one or not the correct one. It's complete confusion. And the Deputy Foreign Minister Tanekzai is supposed to have left and gone to Doha once again. There are all kinds of groupisms and factions within Taliban, and they seem to be in great disagreement among themselves. So in short, the situation is very volatile. It is very uncertain. But this SCO summit in Dushanbe tomorrow does provide a vital opportunity to bring together important players and to see what is going to emerge. Now, if China and Pakistan are going to be there, but they're going to see a kind of consensus that there is for various key factors, then they will also, we have to consider what they do, what they're going to say. So it is important. We have to see what happens tomorrow in the SCO summit.
We see that the SCO summit will be attended by the leaders of the organization's member states, observer states, Secretary General of the SCO, Executive Director of the SCO Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure, and the President of Turkmenistan and other invited guests. Ambassador Sikri, we have seen that the SCO has always had this regional anti-terrorist structure. Do you feel that this would help India and other member states in raising what we have been saying at various global forums for a very long time, that Pakistan, we have seen, is sponsoring cross-border terrorism, and now with Afghanistan in the turmoil that it is, that the soil of Afghanistan should not be allowed to use for terrorist activities. Do you think this structure of the SCO helps India put its case forward more strongly when it comes to terrorist activities?
Yes, these structures are always very useful, but they have to be accepted and actually implemented by all the parties. We have seen that even in SARC, there is a counter-terrorism desk based, I think, in Sri Lanka. But nobody, Pakistan never participated in its activities. They never gave any information. They never shared information about terrorist groups. They keep maintaining that they know nothing about terrorist groups. And there's no terrorism on their soil. So, this is what is the problem, that it is very good and important to set up such structures, and they should be set up. I'm glad there is the regional anti-terrorism structure in the SCO. But is it functioning? I'm not sure that it's functioning very well. But certainly the existence of such a structure will allow India to raise this matter very quickly, very strongly, and to say that we do want anti-terrorism structures and activities to be coordinated so that Afghanistan does not once again become a jihad central. That, that Afghanistan territory is not used not only by the Taliban, but by the Islamic State Khorasan, by the TCP, and now there is talk that even the Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba are being moved into Afghanistan from Pakistan, so that Pakistan has the deniability that they don't have these terrorist groups on their soil. So all kinds of, very, very worrisome and dangerous moves are taking place, and India, I'm sure, is keeping a very close eye on all of them. So these anti-terrorism structures are important. Anti-terrorism is the core of the activity whenever you think about anything in Afghanistan, because the people of Afghanistan have suffered from terrorism. They continue to suffer from terrorism. Women are being beaten up. They're not being allowed to participate. People from communities, the ethnic communities, Tajiks, Hazaras and Uzbeks, they are being treated very badly. They are not being allowed to participate. So obviously, even for the people of Afghanistan, they want stability. They want that there should be no terrorist activities from their soil. They are the first people to want that. So these structures should be strengthened. They should be given more visibility, maybe more teeth, to act and to recommend what is happening in countries, and to say that what should be done by the SCO about it. And China itself should be involved should be interested in strengthening such activities, because they have their own what they call the ETIM, and they seem to be concerned. It's very amazing that they're not concerned about the terrorist activities of the Taliban, but they just say don't come to China. That's all. You do what you want, but don't come to China, and we are prepared to give you money. So it's a very, very difficult, almost a self-serving position, which doesn't really bother about the people of Afghanistan and how they are suffering from terrorism. So I think that these matters, if they are discussed frankly, it will help. It will help, and I hope that they are going to be discussed frankly, and a broad consensus will be created.
With these comments, we bring today's discussion to an end. Thank you.
Thank you.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the first in-person Quad Leaders Summit in Washington on the 24th of this month. Briefing the media in New Delhi this evening, External Affairs Ministry spokesman Narendra Modi said, while in Washington, Mr. Modi will also have a bilateral meeting with US President Joe Biden. He said on the 25th of this month, the Prime Minister will address the general debate of the UN General Assembly at its 76th session. Mr. Bagchi said bilateral meetings with other Quad leaders as well as bilateral meetings with some other leader is also expected while the Prime Minister will be in New York on the 25th of September. On Operation Devi Shakti, the spokesman said until and unless operations resume at the Kabul airport, it will be difficult to say how people will be evacuated. He said it will be easier once the operations resume. Mr. Bagchi said New Delhi is watching this so that the remaining Indians and Afghans willing to come can be brought to India. On reports of a missing Indian national in Afghanistan, he said the External Affairs Ministry has seen a missing persons report. A reported Indian national, Basuri Lal, missing in Kabul. The spokesman said New Delhi is in touch with all concerned. He said we have seen reports about local authorities undertaking investigation. Mr. Bagchi said the government of India will continue to monitor the situation.
China has congratulated the new interim Taliban government in Afghanistan in a major boost to the latter's efforts to gain international recognition for its hardline government. Taliban spokesman Mohammad Naeem said in a tweet that China's ambassador in Kabul, Wang Yu, met acting Afghan Foreign Minister Maulvi Amir Khan Muttaqi on Tuesday and congratulated the new Afghan government. Wang told Muttaqi, China respects the sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity of Afghanistan and supports the Afghan people to choose their own development path. This is the second high-profile meeting between China and the new interim Taliban government after the late August meeting between Abdul Salam Hanafi, the deputy head of the Taliban political committee, and Ambassador Wang Yi in Kabul. China defended and welcomed the Taliban's interim hardline government as a necessary step to restore order and end anarchy. Contrary to the Chinese approach, leaders from other countries, including Russia, are adopting cautious approaches. Russia last week opted out of a meeting of countries sharing a border with Afghanistan, which was convened by Pakistan. As per media reports, Pakistan's ambassador to Kabul, Mansoor Ahmad Khan, has also met Muttaqi. China, along with Pakistan and Russia, have kept their embassies open in Kabul. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Thursday reshuffled his cabinet. The Prime Minister, who is promising to build back better from the pandemic, fired Gavin Williamson as Education Secretary and Robert Buckland as Justice Secretary. In a major shake-up, Boris Johnson replaced Dominic Raab with Liz Truss as Foreign Secretary and Health Minister Nadine Dorries with Oliver Dowden and as Culture Secretary. Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick was fired and replaced by Michael Gove. Prime Minister also promoted the Vaccines Minister Nadeem Zahawi to the Education Secretary. After the reshuffle, the Prime Minister tweeted that his new cabinet would work tirelessly to unite and level up the country. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed the 77 crore landmark milestone today. So far, 17,17,36,406 vaccine doses have been administered in the country. The Health Ministry said more than 57,11,000 vaccine doses were administered today. Improved targeting of the social protection programs can substantially reduce poverty in Bangladesh, says the World Bank WB. In a new report launched on Thursday, the WB said that social protection programs remain central to Bangladesh's development policy for benefiting the poorer households. It said that reallocating the existing transfers to the poorest could reduce poverty in Bangladesh from 36% to 12%. Highlighting the poverty distribution between rural and urban areas, the report observes that almost 1 in 5 persons in the urban areas are poor, while almost half of them are at the risk of falling into poverty. About 11% of the urban people are covered by social protection, whereas 36% people in the rural areas are covered by these programs. Close to 26% of the rural people live in poverty.
South Korea has successfully completed an underwater test launch of an indigenous submarine-launched ballistic missile SLBM yesterday. The South Korean Defense Ministry and Presidential Blue House announced hours earlier North Korea fired 2 ballistic missiles into the East Sea, the second round within days. Speaking to officials at the test site, South Korean President Moon Jae-in said that South Korea's upgrading of its missile capabilities can help deter North Korean provocation. As per South Korean news agency, Mr. Moon stressed that his country had conducted the SLBM test as scheduled in accordance with the military's plan for bolstering its missile arsenal, not as a response to the North's latest provocation. He told defense officials to continue efforts to beef up South Korea's defense capabilities, including the development of various missiles to overwhelm North Korea's asymmetric force. Regarding the latest known missiles fired by the North, Mr. Moon said intensive analysis is necessary to find out the exact type, specifics and Pyongyang's intention. Later in the day, South Korea convened an emergency session of the National Security Council NSC to discuss the North's back-to-back missiles launches this week. On Monday, Pyongyang announced that it had conducted a cruise missile test. SpaceX launched its Inspiration 4 mission on Wednesday evening from NASA's facility in Florida, successfully bringing its all-civilian crew into orbit. The mission is the first private crew launched to orbit by Elon Musk's company and the first time a crew was made up entirely of non-professional astronauts. Inspirational 4 includes Commander Jared Isaacman, pilot Sian Proctor, medical officer Haley Arsinox, and mission specialist Chris Sambrowski. The Inspiration 4 crew, riding in SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft, successfully reached orbit after launching on Wednesday evening. SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell, in a statement, heralded the mission as paving the way for a future where space is more accessible to all who wish to go. And now a report from the business world.
At the stock markets, the Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange advanced 418 points or 0.7% to end at a fresh record high of 59,141 today. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange added 110 points or 0.6% to another all-time high of 17,630 in last two sessions. At the domestic forex market, the rupee weakened 3 paise to 73 rupees and 52 paise against the US dollar. Global Brent crude oil traded above $75 a barrel today, supported by a big drop in US crude inventories and surging European natural gas prices. So Brent crude oil futures shed 33 cents to trade at $75.13 a barrel. US crude futures fell 35 cents to $72.26 a barrel. Rajesh Lake for World News, All India Radio.
Indian cricket skipper Virat Kohli announced on Thursday that he will step down as the captain after the T20 World Cup, which is scheduled to take place in the UAE and Oman from the 17th of October to the 14th of November this year. He will continue to lead the team in test matches and ODIs. In a Twitter statement, Kohli said after a lot of contemplation and discussions with his close people, Ravi Shastri and also Rohit Sharma, who have been an essential part of the leadership group, he has taken the decision. He said he has also spoken to BCCI Secretary Jay Shah and the President of the BCCI, Saurav Ganguly, along with all the selectors about the same. Virat Kohli took over as the captain in the shortest format in 2017 after MS Dhoni stepped down from his position. This will be the first time that Kohli will lead India in the ICC T20 World Cup. He has led the team to the final of the 2017 ICC Champions Trophy and the semi-final of the 2019 ICC World Cup in the past. The 15th East Asia Summit Energy Ministers meeting was held today virtually. Minister State for Power Krishan Pal Gurjar attended the meeting along with other senior officials of the ministry from the Indian side. The theme of the meeting, We Care, We Prepare, We Prosper, aimed at coordinating efforts of ASEAN countries in pursuing the goal of energy security and energy transition that will benefit the people of the region. India confirmed that ASEAN is a region of great importance for us. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Washington Post says French strike kills West Africa Islamic State leader behind deaths of 4 US soldiers. Financial Times reports World Economic Forum plans a return to Davos next year. South China Morning Post writes China formally applies to join Pacific Rim Trade Pact abandoned by the US. Sydney Morning Herald reports France suspends 3,000 unvaccinated health staff as Europe targets jab refusal. Khalij Times says Lebanon blast judge issues arrest warrant for ex-minister. And Sputnik News reports France may demand compensation from Australia for submarine deal breach, Defence Minister says.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to lead Indian delegation at 21st SCO Council of Heads of State meet on Thursday. Prime Minister to participate first in-person Quad Leaders Summit in Washington on 24th of this month. New Delhi monitoring situation over the missing Indian national in Afghanistan, says External Affairs Ministry. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson reshuffles his cabinet. SpaceX launches 4 civilians into orbit on its Inspiration 4 flight. And in cricket, Virat Kohli announces to step down as captain of T20 team after the World Cup. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Mexico. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.